Hello guys and welcome to a new tutorial of the evolution of sound. We kind of know pretty much about all the parameters in Spire, so in today's episode what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating some Supersaw stabs. In the last tutorial we created some plucks. Now we're going to be creating something a little bit bigger. Now you could call these a Supersaw or Supersaw stabs. I call them Supersaw stabs because it's like dun 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 dun, and it pretty much gets a sense of melody. There's no sustaining involved, so this is what we're going to be using. So this is going to be a melody from a pack. I believe it's called the Main Room Warehouse pack, and we're going to be using that. We're going to be using the melody from there. I believe you can buy that pack if you really don't know how to create your own melodies, but I have that pack just in case I run out of ideas. And usually what I do is I get rhythms like this and then I change them to the melody I had in my head, so I've tried and find a similar rhythm. But today we're going to be using it to create Supersaw stabs, and the way the melody is going to sound like is going to be like this. So it's a very catchy rhythm, very catchy melody. This is not my style, but we're going to be using this one to create those Supersaw stabs. So without further ado, if you're interested, make sure to stick around. So straight away, we know we're creating Supersaw stabs, so we're going to be utilizing, again, another saw. Nothing too crazy, nothing out of this world. So this is going to be a simple sound descent tutorial to create stabs. So what I'm going to be doing is lowering sustain again, just like a pluck, but the difference between the pluck and the stab is that the decay is going to be a little bit more higher. And then our release is going to be high as well. So straight away I like the way it's already sounding, so now we're going to shape the sound. So what happened here is we have a decay set to around halfway, and then we upped our release. So what's going on is our sustain is pretty much set all the way low, and our attack is really fast. So our decay is going to act as a sustain, but the difference between the decay and the sustain when you're using them is that when you use a decay, it's going to go back down to the sustain. Remember, attack decides how fast something comes out, decay decides how fast it goes down to the sustain level, and then release decides how long it stays around at the sustain. But since we are using our decay, what's happening right now is our attack is going to the max volume that is being allowed, which is going to be set by our decay and our sustain, and then our release is adding a tail to that. The higher the release, the more of a tail you get. Okay, so let's get started. So pretty much what we did there already is just shape the sound. Now we're going to start adding synthesis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave oscillator 1 straight at 12 o'clock. We're not going to boost it up because we're going to be using all 4 oscillators. And if you boost all the volumes, what's going to happen is you're going to muddy up your sound a lot. So you want to keep it low, as low as possible, and then you can compensate by adding more later on if you feel like it's necessary. So straight away we're going to be adding 9 voices. And what we're going to be doing is lowering density and playing with the detunement for oscillator 1. We're going to widen it. Alright, so pretty much what wide does, it opens up your sound. It makes it spread out more on the stereo field. If you don't know what the stereo field is, we have Ozone 5, which we have I believe it's one of these, imager, I believe. And in the imager, you have a vector scope. And what the vector scope does, it allows you to see where your sound is being played, and how much of the stereo field it's taking. So usually you try and give everything its space when you're doing mix downs, and in order for mastering, so you don't muddy up certain areas. So when you put the wideness, you're pretty much increasing this. So let's try it real fast. So let's lower whiteness down here and let's see. So our sound is straight in mono when it's like down, so we start adding whiteness and you're gonna see this kind of spread out more. So you can see there what wide does, it just spreads out the sound and it sounds a lot better. Generally, when you're using mono sounds, it's going to be for your bass and stuff. And the reason you would want to have something in mono would just be with the idea that you want it to cut through the club systems. Because a lot of the times, what happens is that a lot of clubs just run mono, in their clove systems in order to get it super loud and have it super punchy. And pretty much what happens is your stuff doesn't cut through. So generally you want your bass and your kick to be coming out a lot. And then usually with your lead, sometimes you'll have a part of it in mono, but then you'll spread it out more eventually towards the end of the mix down. So that's pretty much what the whiteness is doing. And I just showed you a visual representation of that. So let's keep going. So we have this. We're going to do is we're going to add another one. So we're going to go to oscillator 2. And now what we're going to do is lower density, lower detunement, put 8 voices for this one. And we're going to detune it as well. Alright, so there we have it. So pretty much this is going to be to taste, but generally speaking, you kind of just don't want your detunements to be in the same area, especially since we're using the same wave and the same type of voices almost, and it's in the same, playing the same notes. Because what tends to happen is if you have a sound that sounds the same, if you get my voice, you record the and just keep duplicating. Pretty much what's going on is you're building a lot of volume in a certain frequency. So after a while, it's gonna get muddy, and it makes no sense. So what you want to do is kind of change a little bit of the detunement or something, so it sounds a little bit different and it covers a different area of your sound. Whenever you're layering stuff, the key thing is you don't want to layer stuff that sounds the same. You want to layer stuff that sounds complementary to each other, but at the same time, it's not the same thing. Alright, so we have it there. Now we're going to do oscillator 3. What we're going to do for oscillator 3, though, is we're going to lower it down an octave. And you technically don't need to do this, but I just do it for this sound to make it sound a little bit more full. If you're going to be using this in a track, generally you have a sub to cover their lowers. But for this one, we're just going to keep oscillator 3. We're not going to put any whiteness to this because it's an octave down. So remember I said the bassier parts usually tend to be in mono. We're going to put 8 voices, and we're going to detune very little. And let's see how that sounds like. Awesome. Now we're going to add oscillator 4, and what we're going to do for this one is we're going to put it up an octave, and we're going to put the white straight in the center. So we're not going to do it all the way, but we're going to keep it here. And we're going to take Anna off on all of them. So it sounds a little bit more cleaner. And let's see how that sounds like. An oscillator 4, 8 voices, detunement all the way, and let's see how it sounds like. And awesome, there we have it. So now we're going to apply some filtering to this. So what I'm going to use is the Perfecto filter, a low pass 4. And we're going to take this off here. So let's lower that. So nothing's coming out, and we're slowly going to build it in. We're going to add some resonance. So I'm going to leave it here, and now I'm going to add more shape to the sound by making an envelope routed to the filter cutoff. So we're going to go into filter, cutoff 1, and we're going to put the amount all the way to the right. So pretty much what's going on is we're routing this envelope to our cutoff, just like this one is routed to the amp. This one's being routed to the cutoff here. So once we start putting the decay up, you're going to hear that stab. Alright, so why is it sounding like that? Because we only have our decay up and our filter's closing straight away. As you remember, as I told you here in the amp, what's going on is the attack and the decay and the sustain. The attack is going to the decay value, and the decay is going down to sustain, which is at 0. But it works differently because we have a release here, and our release is going to tell this to kind of prolong more. So now we need to tell the filter to stay open a little bit longer. And there we have it. So without this, it's pretty much sounds a little dull. But this is going to add a little bit more life, a little bit more humanization to the sound. And now that we have it, we're going to add a little bit of compression here. Awesome. And now we're going to pretty much do some finalizing. So post effects here. We're going to add a little bit of reverb since it stabs. You want to hear that? Alright, so I've explained what reverb does before, so we're going to do a little review right now. So pretty much what I did right there is I increased the pre-delay, and the pre-delay is going to decide how long it takes for the reverb to kick in. So if I play a note right now, you're going to hear the reverb kind of lag a little before it starts. So that's what the pre-delay is doing. It's telling the reverb when to start coming in. And then we have our decay, which is going to decide how much of a reverb we have left over or how long it sticks around. So you could see it as the release of the reverb. The dampness is going to decide how what low frequencies are coming out, while the color is going to decide a little bit of the higher frequencies. And our whiteness is going to decide, again, stereo field, just like this one, but you always want your reverb wide unless for some weird reason you want it in mono. Okay, so once we're done with that, we can add some delay. And awesome, there we have it. So now we're just gonna add some EQ, so get rid of a little bit of the lows. And there we go. We're gonna add a bell, and we're gonna increase it somewhere. And there we have it. We have created Supersaw stabs. So pretty much to review, what we did first is we shaped the sound using the amp envelope, which is routed to envelope 1 by default through Spire. And then what we did is we pretty much chose our sauce and turned them into 8 voices, and one of them was 9 voices, just to add a little bit of difference there. And what we did is pretty much we tuned each, and we made the third one into a mono kind of bassy one to kind of cover that frequency. Our oscillator fur covered the top frequency, and we kind of didn't widen it as much just because we didn't want the sides to get a little bit more clogged. Next thing we did is we applied a Perfecto low pass 4 filter. Low pass 4, pretty much what low pass does, I'm sure many of you already know, it just covers the highs first before it covers the lows. We applied some reverb and some delay, and we just did a little bit of a compression here and some EQ. So hopefully this tutorial was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I know there's not that many views coming towards these because a lot of people tend to use presets, but you know, for those of you guys who are sticking to these tutorials, I hope it's helping you out, and hopefully, you know, if you guys are creating sounds with them, don't forget to send them to me. I love to check out and I love to see progress. So pretty much that's gonna be it. Next episode we'll try and get something into a little bit more advanced, maybe a bass line or something. But for now, I hope you guys learned enough. I hope you guys are comfortable using Spire, and we'll see what we can do next time. So make sure to follow me on Zen World, and make sure to follow the evolution of sound. It's more important to follow that one, as that's where we're going to be doing a lot of free stuff for you guys, and we're also turning that into a samples label, so we're going to have a lot of tools for you guys to get to where you guys want to be. So anyways, guys, this has been Zen World, and I'll see you guys next time.